Foxes are an animal with great cultural importance. Think of all the tales narrated by Greek fabulist Aesop with foxes as protagonists, the role kitsune spirits play in Japanese folklore, or La Volpe herself, antagonist in Carlos Collodi's Pinocchio. The fox is a majestic animal and I chose it long time ago as my online nickname, which I must admit causes some confusion in recent times. But nevertheless, to celebrate the recently achieved 1000 subscribers, I wanted to do a fun and chill video where I review without spoilers 3 games where the protagonist is a playable fox. The first 3, Spirit of the North and Never Alone. These 3 indie games are quite different from each other, with different developers and different scopes, with the common denominator being this video's premise. All these 3 games are fairly short, about 3 to 6 hours to complete each, and can be found for PC and for some game consoles. So, without any other premises, let us explore these 3 games in order in which I've played them. But first things first, roll the intro. The first title on the list is the properly named The First Tree, a game developed by a single man, David Well. This is the first Fox-themed game that I have played, and I got it for Christmas from a friend of mine. Thank you, Uriel. The title is a narrative adventure, fully narrated by a man that talks to his wife about a dream he had. The dream was about a fox that was searching for her cubs, traveling around various landscapes filled with memories of the man's life and family. The story of the fox is more metaphorical, since the real protagonist is the narrator himself. In the 2 hours or so game, the player explores various levels filled with items to interact that link back to the man's tale. There are some platforming sections and some collectibles, but the game is pretty straightforward to play. The game's a walking simulator, but not in a negative way. The game's focus is just more on the narration and the visuals rather than the gameplay, similar to a game like the Stanley Parable. The game part of the gameplay is more of an excuse for the player to feel that they are traveling and taking control over the plot, an excuse to navigate the lovely landscapes you see on screen. The controls work fine, and anyone can pick up this title and play it with no problems. The theme of the plot is family relations, more specifically the relation between the protagonist and his father, a topic always complex to judge since everyone's sensitivities on it are different. Personally, I found the narration to be enjoyable and emotional, not extraordinary by any means, but still well written. The sole creator of the game really wanted to convey a personal story, and I think he managed to do it well in the medium of gaming. The story is not autobiographical, but the bigger themes are linked with the author's personal story. The dream, the vixen's journey searching for her cubs, is a parallelism with the man's journey of rediscovering and reflection on his family's complex background. The graphical aspect and the art directions assist the focus of the game. The colors are few, the texture simple, the contrasts are vivid and meaningful. Of course, I must highlight the fact that this is an indie game made by a single person. There was a limit for how much David could do by himself. While individual elements are okayish, the ensemble works quite well. He really used the Unity 5.3 engine in a capable manner. Also, the music composed for the game adds to the aesthetics by enhancing the profound narration at the right times. One negative note of the game, however, perceived by my friend and some other players, is that the game may cause some nausea due to a combination of camera movements, FOV, and some drops of frames. I did not feel this too strongly, but it is something that I noticed. Also, the few platforming parts of the game are nothing to write home about. Again, not the focus of the game, but still something that has to be said. Overall, I would say that The First Tree is an enjoyable game, a small project that I'm happy to have supported and brought to the channel. Since the plot of the game is quite personal, you may or may not enjoy it like I did, but I still hope you give The First Tree a chance. The second Fox-based game that I've played fairly recently was Spirit of the North, another game that I received for free, but this time from the Epic Games Store. The title counts more developers, with the 2 leading ones being Taylor Christensen and Jacob Sutton from North Carolina and some other contributors. Opposite to The First Tree, Spirit of the North has no spoken narration. In fact, there is no spoken dialogue in the whole game at all. The plot of the game resides in the visual elements, show don't tell. Spirit of the North is a splendid game to look at, incredible when considering it is an indie game developed with Unreal Engine 4. It takes quite the courage to tell a whole story without any spoken line of dialogue, not even writings, yet the developers managed to convey a nice and enjoyable tale despite their silence. The music, composed by Joseph G. Ford, makes up for it, enhancing the atmospheric game the title is. More than a game, I would define it as a moving piece of art, a painting that makes a strong usage of light contrast and detailed sceneries. Truly a pretty game to look at that sets the right tone for each chapter from start to finish. The game is simply beautiful, and it achieves its goal of being astonishing with the limited budget had by the development duo, no small feat when compared to the other two games on the list. But just like the first three, the gameplay itself is not the focus, being once again a walking simulator with some puzzles and platforming sections. There are some neat powers that the player can use, the movements in the games are smooth and engaging, and there are some hidden collectibles to find to unlock a few extras. Playing Spirit of the North means exploring the various levels for various hidden elements to progress throughout the adventure. Some areas are narrow, but some can be more expansive, but in both the player is always on the move. The game's movements are dynamic and link well to the overall aesthetics of the title. Since the game is longer, about 4 to 5 hours, some of these game mechanics may become a bit repetitive, but as I stated, the gameplay is not the focus of the third-person adventure title. The narration can be cryptic at first, but it all makes sense at the end, and I would say that the developers managed to tell a nice story without saying a word. While the two other games on the list have a more precise scope, I feel like Spirit of the North aims towards achieving a vibe enjoyed from start to finish. There is mystery, but there is no confusion, just a pleasant small odyssey guided by a mystical fox. In general, I would say that despite some things that could have been expanded upon, I'm quite pleased to have played Spirit of the North, and it is probably my favorite game out of the three. Its visuals are enchanting, and you can bet that I will keep putting gameplay of the title in the background of my videos. The last title to have a fox as a co-protagonist that I have played, the most recent one, is Kizima Inchwana Never Alone. The title was developed by a small Alaskan-based team in collaboration with the Alaskan Native Tribe Council. The game's story is fully based on the Kunuksayuka tale told by the Inuit natives, inhabitants of the northern parts of North America around Alaska and Yukon. Just like the previous two games, the title focuses mainly on its narration, this time narrated fully in Inupiaq, the language of the native Alaskans. It is wonderful to experience this cultural insight, a demonstration on how games can be used to share cultural wisdom from all corners of the world. The tale itself is simple yet poetic, well aligned with the original source material. The nicely native drawing-inspired cutscenes are a nice touch to enhance the origins of the game, and so does the beautiful music in the background. As a nice touch, the game has within it small video documentaries that explain more about the traditions and the story of the Inupiat natives who developed Never Alone. The game itself is also fun to play. Unlike the two previous titles, this time the game is a 2D platform adventure, where there is a greater emphasis on puzzle solving, being the player able to control two characters with different perks. While controlling the human, the player can use the slingshot, row the kayak, and do various other activities, while the fox can control the spirits, often used as additional platforms. The game is not challenging by any means, but there is more gameplay to think about while playing this 2 to 3 hours long adventure. The title can be both played single player, by switching manually between the human and the fox characters, as well as co-op, where each player controls each character. The art direction and the graphics of the title are also quite pleasant. The Alaskan wild feels genuine, and the play of lights and shadows made by the spirits and the Aurora Borealis works splendidly. Even if the gameplay is two-dimensional, the models of the characters are in 3D and are also quite well made. The game has also a smaller DLC, Fox Tales, based on the Two Coastal Brothers tale, that adds about an hour of gameplay. For the people who enjoyed the base game, the expansion works well as a mini-sequel, more of the base game. Some feedback for the game I would give is that the non-playable character has a bad tendency to move stiffly, and more than once I've lost due to this. Also, some of the platforming does not work as well as intended. The game is far from being frustrating, but it could have been improved a bit further. Overall, I really enjoy Kizima Inchwana Never Alone. I found its cultural insights very memorable and the game itself fun to play. While it is not my favorite out of the three, I recognize it to be the most complete experience, having both the narrative and graphical elements as well as a solid gameplay. If you could not tell, foxes are my favorite animal, and these three small indie games in my opinion do foxes justice. I like each game for a different reason. My first three is for its powerful narration, Spirit of the North for its wonderful visuals, and Never Alone for its rich cultural insight. These three games have their issues and remain small indie projects developed by a handful of people, so if you play them, don't expect a high-budget AAA experience. But nevertheless, if you're also a fox enjoyer like myself and have euros to spend, I would suggest you to give these games a try. Also, in the case of Never Alone and Spirit of the North, these two games are getting sequels somewhere in the near future. If you made it this far, I wanted to thank you One Too Many Foxes time for watching today's video. I must admit that the idea for this video was a bit less complex than usual, but for the summertime I wanted to make something fun and in the theme of the channel's name. I hope you liked it and give some of these games a try. I wish you all a wonderful day, and until next time, arrivederci!